Hey guys, tonight we're traveling to a place in time where the line between the living and the dead was not a wall, but a constantly shifting, permeable veil. We are journeying to ancient China, during the long and powerful Han Dynasty, to explore a world governed by intricate rules and terrifying superstitions about what happens when a person dies. You're about to become an apprentice to a master of funerary rites, a man whose job is part priest, part spiritual security guard, and part travel agent for the soul. We will witness the strange and complex rituals designed to ensure that the dead travel safely to the afterlife, and more importantly, that they do not return to haunt the living. Now for our little reality check. In ancient China, your biggest fear wasn't just dying, it was dying improperly. A mistake in the burial rites, a poorly chosen tomb location, or an unhappy ancestor could lead to generations of misfortune for your family. Or worse. It could result in your own corpse getting back up and paying your relatives a visit as a terrifying, reanimated monster. It added a considerable amount of performance anxiety to the whole process of passing on. This wasn't just about grief, it was about managing a perilous supernatural transition. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Your support is the jade amulet that protects this channel from malevolent spirits. And as always, I love to see where you're all joining me from. So please drop your city and local time in the comments below. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your world smells of aged wood, drying herbs, and the sharp, mineral scent of ground pigments. You are a young apprentice in the establishment of Master Li, a respected master of the funerary arts in the bustling capital city. Your home and workshop is a sprawling compound of dark, timber frame buildings with gracefully curved, tiled roofs. It is a place of quiet, focused work, a place that the city's residents respect deeply and also try to avoid. You are learning a trade that is both sacred and feared. You spend your days grinding cinnabar to make red ink for protective charms, polishing jade ornaments, and studying the ancient texts that map out the complex bureaucracy of the afterlife. Your master, Li, is a stern, exacting teacher. He believes that precision is the only shield against chaos. A single misplaced ritual object, a single misspoken prayer, he tells you, can have catastrophic consequences. From Master Li, you learn the fundamental principles that govern life and death. You learn that every living person possesses two distinct souls. There is the Hun, the ethereal, intellectual soul, after death. This is the soul that leaves the body and ascends to the heavens to face the judgment of the gods and take its place in the celestial bureaucracy. Then there is the Po, the earthly, animal soul. This is the soul of your physical appetites and energies, and it remains with the body in the tomb. Our task, Master Li often says, his voice low and serious, is twofold. We must ensure the Hun soul has a safe and successful journey to the afterlife, and we must ensure the Po soul is comfortable and appeased in its tomb. If the Hun soul gets lost, it becomes a wandering, hungry ghost. If the Po soul is unhappy, it can animate the corpse and return to torment the living. We are the gatekeepers. We stand between the living and the dead and ensure the border remains secure. One afternoon, as you are carefully copying a list of approved grave goods, a servant bursts into your courtyard. He is breathless, his face pale with panic. He is from the household of Magistrate Wei, a local official of some importance. The master is dying, the servant gasps. He is fading. Master Li must come at once. Master Li shows no emotion. He simply nods, rises, and begins to gather his tools. He looks at you. You will come with me. He says, your training is over. Your work begins. You follow your master through the bustling city streets. carrying a lacquered wooden box filled with the implements of your trade. You arrive at the magistrate's villa, a large, walled compound. You are ushered past the outer courtyard, where distant relatives are already beginning to wail in ritual mourning, and into the house itself. The air inside is thick with tension and the smell of medicinal herbs. A physician is just leaving the master's bedchamber, and he shakes his head grimly as he passes you. You and Master Li are shown into a small antechamber to wait. Through the screen door, you can hear the soft, rhythmic weeping of the magistrate's wife and eldest son. This is the moment, the perilous transition. Master Li turns to you, his voice a low whisper. What is the first thing we must do when the final breath has passed? He quizzes you, his eyes sharp. We must seal the 9 gates. You reply, your voice steady despite the pounding of your heart. Why? To prevent the vital essence, the kui from escaping the body. You recite, and to prevent malevolent spirits from entering the corpse and making it walk. Good, Master Li nods. The body is an empty vessel. We must make sure it remains empty, and the soul's energy must be preserved for its long journey. A great wail erupts from the bedchamber, a sound of profound and final grief. The magistrate's son emerges, his face stained with tears. He is gone, he says. Master Li bows his head respectfully and then enters the room. You follow, your heart in your throat. The magistrate's body lies on his sleeping couch. His wife is gently closing his eyes. Master Li waits patiently until the family's initial raw outburst of grief subsides. Then he approaches the body, and his work begins. He opens the lacquered box you carried. Inside, nestled on beds of red silk, are a series of small, exquisitely carved objects made of pale green jade. There are plugs, discs, and coverings of various shapes and sizes. These are the tools for sealing the 9 gates of the body, the 9 orifices, the Juqiao, Master Li murmurs as he works. His voice now a low, instructive hum meant only for you. They are the doorways of the body, in life. They let the world in death. They let the soul out. We must bar them. You watch, your hands ready to assist, as your master performs the ancient, intimate, and deeply strange ritual. He takes 2 small, carved jade discs and reverently places them over the magistrate's closed eyelids. He takes 2 small, biconical plugs and gently inserts them into the nostrils. He places a larger, cicada-shaped piece of jade upon the magistrate's tongue and closes his mouth. The cicada, which buries itself in the earth only to re-emerge, is a powerful symbol of rebirth, a prayer that the magistrate's soul will also be reborn in the afterlife. The work continues. 2 smaller plugs for the ears, 1 for the navel, and, with the utmost gravity and respect, the final 2 plugs to seal the urethra and the anus, every opening through which the body's vital energy could leak, or a malevolent spirit could enter, is now sealed with the cool, protective power of jade. The jade, Master Li has taught you, is a magical stone. It is the earthly essence of the heavens, a stone that does not decay, and it is believed it can impart its permanence to the body it protects. As you stand back and look at the body, now sealed and silent, you are struck by the immense effort and wealth being expended. The jade plugs are of the highest quality, their polish gleaming in the lamplight. You are witnessing a core debate that future historians will have. Is this elaborate ritual purely for the spiritual well-being of the deceased? Or is it also a calculated display of status and wealth for the living? You see the magistrate's son watching your master's work, and in his eyes you see not only grief, but also a fierce pride. The quality of his father's jade plugs affirms his family's importance. The funeral has already begun, and it is both a spiritual journey and a public performance. Your master's work for the moment is done. The body is secure. He has closed the gates, Protecting the vessel from both internal decay and external invasion, the family's formal, ritualized period of mourning, which your master will now orchestrate, can begin. But you know this is only the first and simplest step. The body may be sealed, but the magistrate's two souls are now in a state of perilous transition. His earthly Po soul must be pacified, and his heavenly Hun soul must be guided. You look at the still form on the bed, and you are filled with a sense of profound awe and fear. You are at the beginning of a long, complex, and dangerous process. A journey that will take you from this quiet deathbed to the very edge of the spirit world. Your work as a gatekeeper has just begun, with the 9 gates of the magistrate's body sealed by the cool, protective power of jade. The first and most intimate ritual is complete. The raw. Keening grief of the family begins to subside, channeled now into the formal, structured currents of prescribed mourning. The body is washed one final time, dressed in a simple underrobe, and moved from the deathbed to a wooden bier in the center of the main hall of the house. An altar is placed at its feet, laden with incense burners, candles, and plates of symbolic food offerings. You assume that with the body sealed. The immediate danger has passed, but Master Li quickly corrects you. His face is a mask of stern focus. The work has only just begun, he says. His voice a low command. The vessel is sealed, but the energies within and without are now at their most volatile. The body cannot be left unattended for a single moment, and so begins the vigil. You and your master will take shifts, standing guard over the deceased magistrate day and night, until he is safely sealed in his coffin. During a quiet hour, long after midnight, as the rest of the household sleeps an exhausted, grief-stricken sleep, Master Li decides your training must continue. You plug the gates to keep the Kui from escaping, he whispers, his eyes fixed on the still form on the bier. But our true concern is the Po, the earthly soul. He explains that the Po, the soul of blood and breath and base instinct, is now a rudderless ship, with the conscious, heavenly Hun soul having departed. The Po is left behind, trapped with the body it still thinks of as its home. It is confused, animalistic, and filled with a deep, bitter resentment for its own death. An untended Po is a dangerous thing. Master Li murmurs, its resentment can fester. It can curdle into malice, and if its energy is strong, or if it is agitated by an outside force, it can do the unthinkable. It can try to move the body again. He then tells you the stories that are the foundation of your terrifying trade. He tells you of the Jiangshi, the stiff corpse. He describes how a body, animated by its own malevolent Po, can rise, because its limbs are stiff with rigor mortis. It cannot walk. It hops. Its arms outstretched, its skin pale, its eyes lifeless. It is no longer a person. It is a hungry automaton, drawn instinctively to the warmth and life force, the Kui of the living, seeking to drain it to sustain its own unnatural existence. Your master tells you stories about hopping vampires. Your main takeaway is that your new job description includes preventing the zombie apocalypse, which you feel should have warranted higher pay. This, he explains, is the ultimate failure of a funerary master. To allow a client to become a Jiangshi is a disgrace that brings ruin not only to the deceased's family, but to the master's own reputation for all time. The threat, however, is not just from within. The air is now thick with opportunistic spirits, Master Li says, glancing towards the shuttered windows. A newly dead corpse is a beacon for them. They are drawn to the lingering energy of the soul. A demon, a hungry ghost. Even the spirit of an animal can try to enter the body and claim it as its own. He tells you of the specific, almost mundane things that can trigger this terrible reanimation. A clap of thunder at the wrong moment, he says, or a strong gust of wind that blows out the candles, can shock the Po into action, and you must, above all else, keep cats away from the body. He explains the ancient folk belief that if a cat, especially a black one, were to leap over the corpse, its sudden burst of vital energy could jolt the body back to a semblance of life. You are given very strict instructions to keep all cats away from the body. It seems that Fluffy, the family pet, is also a potential necromantic catalyst. The list of things that can go wrong is alarmingly long. Understanding the dangers. You now begin to participate in the rituals of containment. Your work is a series of precise, deliberate actions designed to pacify the Poe and shield the corpse. First, you go through the house with the magistrate's son and cover all the bronze mirrors with sheets of white cloth. A corpse must never see its own reflection, Master Lee explains. To see itself would be a great shock to the Poe. It might not understand that it is dead, and its confusion could turn to rage. You also learn that mirrors are thought to be a kind of spirit portal, and covering them prevents anything from passing through. All mirrors in the house must be covered. Apparently, the only thing more terrifying than a reanimated corpse is a reanimated corpse that has just seen its own reflection and is having a bad hair day. Next, you perform a ritual sweeping of the floors, but you do not sweep the dust out the front door. Master Lee instructs you to sweep from the edges of the room inward, towards the center where the body lies. This, he says, keeps the family's luck and wealth from being swept out of the house, along with the departed spirit. The collected dust is carefully bundled and will be burned later. An altar is laden with offerings for the deceased. But you learn these offerings have a dual purpose. A bowl of cooked rice, steamed buns, and cups of wine are not just for the journeying Hun soul. They are also to appease the Poe soul that remains. A well-fed Poe is a contented Poe, less likely to grow restless and cause trouble. You are tasked with maintaining the incense burners, ensuring a constant, thick stream of fragrant smoke fills the hall. The smoke purifies the air, but its primary purpose is to obscure the vision of any evil spirits that may be lurking, to confuse them so they cannot find the body. You also begin the ritual burning of spirit money, stacks of joss paper that are burned in a brass bowl. The smoke carries the essence of the money into the spirit world. The first deposit into the magistrate's afterlife bank account, ensuring he can bribe the celestial bureaucrats he is about to encounter. Days pass in this state of heightened, solemn vigilance. The magistrate's body lies in state while the family's carpenter works furiously to complete the coffin. For an official of his rank, the coffin must be a magnificent thing. It is constructed not of common pine, but of thick planks of cypress, a fragrant wood believed to have preservative qualities. It is a heavy, substantial thing, built to last for eternity. Finally, the day comes to place the body in the coffin. This is another moment of great ritual importance. The body is washed one last time with water infused with willow branches, another protective element. It is then dressed in its burial robes, not one robe, but many layers. Fine silk undergarments, embroidered robes, and a final, magnificent outer cloak. The layers protect the body and also signify the wealth and status of the deceased. Master Lee places a few final protective charms around the body in the coffin, small pieces of jade. A charm written on peachwood, which is believed to be especially potent against demons. Then, with the help of the magistrate's sons, the body is carefully, reverently lifted and placed inside the great wooden box. The final act of containment is at hand. The massive, heavy lid of the cypress coffin is lifted into place. Master Lee inspects the seal, ensuring it is perfectly aligned. Then, using a prepared lacquer, he begins to seal the lid to the box, creating a thick, airtight barrier. The sharp, resinous smell of the lacquer fills the air. This, Master Lee explains, is the first and most important tomb. It is the physical prison that will contain the body, and it's dangerous. Earthly Poe soul for all time. The sound of the lid being hammered into its final position echoes through the hall. A collective sigh of relief goes through the family. A great danger has been passed. The body is sealed. The physical threat, the terrifying possibility of the walking dead, has been contained. You stand guard over the magnificent, sealed coffin. The air in the house is still heavy with grief, but the sharp, specific terror of the animated corpse has been laid to rest. You feel a sense of accomplishment, of a perilous job well done. But as you watch the smoke from the incense curl around the sealed sarcophagus, Master Lee puts a hand on your shoulder. "Do not be at ease, boy," he says, his voice low. "We have secured the Po. We have protected the living from the dead." He gestures to the ceiling. "But we have not yet dealt with the Hun." His heavenly soul is now a lost and confused traveler, hovering near the home it no longer recognizes. If we do not guide it, if we do not show it the way, it will become a hungry ghost, doomed to wander the earth forever. Our work is not over. Now, we must call back the soul. The magistrate's body lies sealed within its magnificent cypress coffin, a dark, silent island in the sea of the family's grief. The immediate visceral fear of the corpse reanimating has been contained, replaced by a new and more ethereal anxiety. You have secured the earthly Po soul, but the heavenly Hun soul is now adrift. Master Lee pulls you aside in the quiet courtyard, away from the ritual wailing of the mourners. "The Hun is now like a kite whose string has been cut," he explains, his voice a low whisper. "It is a creature of intellect and spirit, but at the moment of death, it is confused. It does not yet know the path. It hovers near the home it knew, lost in the winds between the world of the living and the realm of the spirits. It is vulnerable. He tells you that if the Hun's soul is left to wander, it can be snatched by demons, or it can simply lose its way, becoming a gui, a hungry ghost, forever cut off from the nourishment of its family's ancestral offerings, doomed to cause mischief and suffering among the living. Therefore," he continues, his expression grave, "we must perform the few. We must attempt to call it back. You are confused. Call it back, but the magistrate is dead. We have sealed his coffin. Death is a process, not a single moment." Master Lee corrects you sternly. "There is a brief window, a crack in the door between life and death. The ancient rites demand that we make one final, great effort to call the Hun back to its vessel. If the soul hears, if its connection to the body is not yet fully severed, a miracle may occur. The magistrate may revive." He sees the skepticism in your eyes. "The chances are small, infinitesimally small." He admits, "But the ritual is not only for the deceased, it is for the living, to show that they have done everything in their power, that they have clung to hope until the very last moment. And it is for the celestial bureaucracy. It is a formal declaration that all procedures have been followed. It ensures the soul cannot later file a grievance with the magistrates of the underworld, that it was abandoned without a proper attempt at recall. It's a very thorough customer service policy. The preparations begin. The magistrate's eldest son, his face pale and tear-streaked, but his posture filled with a new, somber dignity, brings you one of his father's robes. It is a beautiful garment of dark, embroidered silk, one the magistrate wore on important state occasions. This robe, still holding the scent and essence of the man, will be the lure, the spiritual anchor to draw the wandering soul back. The ritual must be performed from a high place, to better project the call into the heavens. The chosen location is the roof of the magistrate's own house, and the chosen performer, under Master Lee's direct supervision, is you. It is a great and terrifying honor. A test of your training, you take the silken robe, which feels unnervingly light in your hands, and follow Master Lee to a wooden ladder propped against the side of the house. The climb is awkward, The curved roof tiles are slippery with a fine layer of dust. You clamber onto the ridge of the roof, your heart pounding from both the exertion and the gravity of the moment. You're standing on a slippery tile roof, holding a dead man's laundry, and yelling at the sky. You reflect, not for the first time, that your chosen career path is a little unusual. From your perch, you can see the entire compound laid out below, in the central courtyard. The entire family has gathered the magistrate's wife, his sons, his daughters, his concubines, all dressed in the coarse, undyed sackcloth of mourning. They stand with their faces upturned towards you, their expressions a painful mixture of desperate hope and profound grief. You are the focal point of all their remaining hope. Master Li stands beside you on the roof, his hand steadying your shoulder. "Begin," he commands. "Face the north." You turn to face the north, the direction of winter, of darkness, of the underworld capital. You do? The direction from which you must call the soul away. You hold the magistrate's robe high, letting it flutter in the breeze. You take a deep breath, and you begin to call, your voice louder and clearer than you thought possible, projecting out over the tiled rooftops of the city. "Wei Fu," you shout, using the magistrate's family name and the ancient word for return. You call his name 3 times, your voice echoing in the sudden stillness of the afternoon. You are not just shouting a name. You're trying to cast a line into the invisible world, to hook a lost and wandering spirit and draw it back. "Now the east," Master Li commands. You turn to the east, the direction of the rising sun and of birth, and you repeat the call. "We have," then the south, the direction of summer and vibrant life. "Wi-Fi," and finally, the west, the direction of the setting sun and the path to the afterlife. "Wef," your throat is raw. The physical effort of shouting with such force has left you breathless, but the emotional toll is greater. You are a young man, standing on a roof, yelling at an empty sky, pleading with a ghost to reverse the fundamental nature of the universe. It is an act of profound, heartbreaking, and utterly futile hope. Of course, no miracle occurs. The magistrate does not sit up in his coffin. The sky does not offer a sign. There is only the wind in the distant, indifferent sounds of the city. Your call is met with a vast and final silence. "It is done," Master Li says, his voice quiet. "The soul has chosen its path. Let us descend." You climb carefully down the ladder, your legs trembling. The family in the courtyard looks at you, and seeing the result in your empty hands and exhausted face, they seem to shrink, their last sliver of hope extinguished. A fresh wave of quiet. More profound weeping begins. The magistrate is now, truly and irreversibly, dead, but the ritual is not yet complete. You carry the silken robe back into the main hall, where the great cypress coffin rests on its bier. With a final ceremonial gesture, you walk to the head of the coffin and lay the robe over it. The symbolism is clear. The Hun's soul, having been summoned by the garment, has now been returned to its physical vessel, reunited, if only in spirit, with the Po soul that waits within. The deceased is now whole again, ready for his journey. The atmosphere in the house shifts. The frantic, desperate energy of the last few days dissolves, replaced by a deep, somber acceptance. The family's mourning now enters a new phase, a long and complex period of formalized grief that will last for months, even years. You and Master Li have completed your duties for the day. As you prepare to leave, your master turns to you. "We have secured the body and recalled the soul," he says. "The vessel is now prepared, but a great official like Magistrate Wei does not travel into the next world empty-handed. He was a man of status. He had servants, soldiers, secretaries, and wealth. The magistrates of the afterlife will expect him to arrive with an entourage and possessions befitting his rank. He looks at you, his eyes filled with the weight of the work yet to come. Now, he says, the true preparations begin. We must equip him for the afterlife. We must build his new world. This, you understand, is the next great stage of your work. You will not be dealing with the body or the soul of the magistrate anymore. You will be dealing with his shadow, his legacy, his status. You will be helping to construct a miniature, perfect replica of his life on Earth. An entire world to be packed into his tomb. To ensure that his existence in the celestial bureaucracy is as comfortable and prestigious as the one he just left behind. With the magistrate's soul symbolically returned to its vessel and sealed within the cypress coffin, the house enters a new phase of formalized mourning. The initial, raw shock of death has passed, replaced by a deep, somber, and intensely busy period of preparation. The magistrate's journey to the afterlife is about to begin, and it is the solemn duty of his family, and your trade, to ensure he travels as a man of status, not as a common refugee. You return to the workshop of Master Li, a place that now seems less like a craftsman studio and more like the supply depot for a great expedition. Your master begins your next lesson, the most complex one yet. The body and the soul are now contained, he says, gesturing to a vast collection of unglazed ceramic objects that have been delivered to the workshop. But the journey of the Hun's soul through the spirit world to the courts of the afterlife is a perilous one. And upon its arrival, it will not be greeted by a paradise of eternal rest. It will be greeted by a bureaucracy. You listen, captivated. As Master Li explains the Han Chinese conception of the afterlife, it is a mirror image of the world of the living, a perfect sprawling bureaucracy modeled on the imperial administration of the Han Emperor himself. There are celestial ministries, underworld governors, and spectral magistrates who preside over the spirits of the dead. Death, you are learning, is not an escape from paperwork. It is merely a transfer to a different, and possibly even more complex, government office. You're learning that when you die, you don't go to a place of eternal rest. You write in your journal. You go to a new, terrifyingly large government office to start your next job. The universe is apparently managed by middle managers. When the magistrate's soul arrives, Master Li continues, it must report for duty. Its life will be audited, its deeds will be reviewed, and it will be assigned a new post in the spirit world. Our task is to ensure this process is smooth. We must provide him with everything he needs to navigate this bureaucracy successfully. Your role as a scribe now becomes paramount. You are tasked with preparing the essential travel documents for the deceased. The first and most important of these is the Qianse, the inventory list. You are given dozens of thin, carefully prepared slips of bamboo. On these, with your finest, clearest calligraphy, you must meticulously record every single item that will be placed in the tomb. Every robe, every jade ornament, every ceramic pot, every grain of rice. This list is a kind of customs declaration and a proof of ownership for the underworld authorities. Without it, the goods could be confiscated by corrupt spirits or claimed by the celestial tax collectors. Next, you must draft a letter of introduction, a spiritual passport. You write a formal document on a roll of silk, identifying Magistrate Wei, listing his earthly titles and accomplishments, and respectfully requesting that the various spirits, demons, and guardians of the underworld grant him safe passage. The final and most intimidating document is the official report to the underworld itself. Master Li dictates the precise, legalistic formula, and you write it out on a wooden tablet. It is addressed to the magistrates of the subterranean world. The text formally announces Magistrate Wei's death and his imminent arrival, stating that he has lived a virtuous life and is now reporting for his new celestial duties. It is a formal, bureaucratic notification, an official memo sent from the world of the living to the world of the dead, as you work on this celestial paperwork. The workshop fills with the minki, the spirit articles that will furnish the magistrate's tomb. These are not just sentimental trinkets. They are functional equipment for the afterlife. There are vast quantities of spirit money, clay imitations of the bronze coins of the realm. The celestial magistrates can be influenced, just like our own. Master Li notes with a wry expression, "It is wise for a soul to travel with a full purse for tolls, fees, and discretionary gratuities. It's good to know that even in the underworld, nothing is free." Then come the models. Beautifully crafted ceramic miniatures representing every aspect of the magistrate's earthly life. You catalog a perfect replica of his villa, complete with tiny furniture, a model of his granary, filled with clay grains to ensure he will never go hungry, a model pigsty with fat ceramic pigs, a model wellhead, and a model kitchen stove. The magistrate's family is deeply involved in this process. His wife personally inspects the models of the household servants, the cooks, the maids, the musicians, ensuring they are of sufficient quality. His son reviews your inventory lists, his finger tracing the characters, his face a mask of solemn concentration. Their grief has found a new, practical outlet. They are not just mourning their husband and father, they are actively continuing to care for him, ensuring his comfort and status in the next life. This meticulous preparation is their final act of love and filial piety. This practice makes you ponder a question that future archaeologists will debate. Why the shift from burying real people and objects, as was done in the ancient Shang dynasty, to burying these ceramic models? Master Li provides a practical, if unsentimental, answer. Why bury the magistrate's real cook? He says, inspecting a miniature ceramic stove. When a clay model will serve his spirit just as well, and you can still have the real cook make you dinner tomorrow. The spirits need the essence of the thing, not the thing itself. We have learned to be more efficient. The most fascinating document you are tasked with copying is a Zhanmuwen, a tomb-quelling text. This is a powerful legal document, inscribed on a pottery jar. That will be placed in the tomb. It is essentially a deed for the land of the tomb. It is addressed to the Lord of the Tomb, and it formally states that the Wei family has purchased this plot of land for a certain price, and that their ancestor has the legal right to reside there peacefully. It includes clauses warning the officials of the underworld not to harass the spirit of Magistrate Wei, stating that all of his earthly affairs and grievances have been settled, and he arrives with a clean slate. It is a magical restraining order and a property deed rolled into one. After days of this work, you are surrounded by the complete miniaturized world of a dead man. You look at the tiny clay servants, forever frozen in postures of deference. You look at the stacks of spirit money, currency for a ghost. You look at the scrolls of afterlife paperwork, a bureaucratic passport to eternity. You have to write a list of every single item going into the tomb. It's 3 scrolls long. The magistrate is being buried with more kitchenware than the imperial palace, apparently. He was very serious about his afterlife dinner parties. The horror you are documenting is not one of ghosts or monsters. It is the horror of a suffocating, inescapable bureaucracy that governs not just life, but death itself. The universe, it seems, is not a grand, spiritual mystery, but an endless series of offices, reports, and audits. As your work on the household, Mingxi concludes, Master Li inspects your finished scrolls and tablets. He nods in approval. The domestic arrangements are in order, he says. The soul will have a comfortable home and a full pantry. But Magistrate Wei was not just a man of the house. He was a man of the state, an official of the Han Emperor. He cannot arrive in the spirit world as a simple homeowner. He must arrive with a security detail. He must have an entourage befitting his rank. He leads you to another part of the workshop, a large covered area you have not yet entered. He pulls back a heavy cloth curtain. Behind it, standing in silent, orderly ranks, are dozens upon dozens of ceramic figures. They are not servants or musicians. They are soldiers. Each one is about 2 feet tall, clad in armor, holding a miniature halberd or crossbow. There are infantrymen, cavalrymen on small, sturdy horses, and even a command chariot. An official of his stature requires a guard of honor, Master Li says, his voice filled with a new level of gravity. He needs an army to protect him from demons on his journey and to serve him in his new celestial post. Our next task is to prepare his spirit army. You stare at the silent, clay soldiers, their painted eyes seeming to look right through you. You have equipped the magistrate's afterlife home. Now, you must help raise his afterlife army in the great covered courtyard of Master Li's workshop. The silent, gray ranks of the spirit army await your attention. There are over 200 figures, each about 2 feet tall, arranged in disciplined rows. There are infantrymen with shields and halberds, kneeling crossbowmen, and cavalrymen astride sturdy ceramic horses. This, your master explains, is the magistrate's honor guard, his security detail for eternity. An army serves 2 purposes for the soul, Master Li says. Walking down the rows of clay figures, his voice echoing in the vast space. First, it is protection. The journey from the tomb to the celestial court is long and treacherous. The path is haunted by hungry ghosts, the spirits of those who died violently or were not given proper burials. There are lesser demons who prey on wandering Hun souls. This army will be the magistrate's bodyguard, a spirit legion to ward off such threats. He pauses, tapping the helmet of a ceramic officer. Second, and just as important, he continues, it is a statement of status in the bureaucracy of the afterlife, as in our own Han court. A man's importance is measured by the size of his retinue. When Magistrate Wei arrives at the gates of the underworld, he will not arrive as a humble petitioner. He will arrive as a commander at the head of his troops. The celestial magistrates will see his power and will grant him a post befitting his rank. We are not just building an army. We are building his resume for the next life. Your role now shifts from that of a scribe to that of a craftsman. You are put to work among the potters and painters whose task it is to bring this clay army to life. You learn that the soldiers are not sculpted individually. That would take years instead. They are products of a remarkably efficient assembly process. You discover the spirit soldiers are made from molds. It's a bit like making cookies, except instead of gingerbread men. You're making an eternal army of the dead, and you probably shouldn't eat the broken ones. The workshop is a hive of activity. In one area, apprentices mix the clay. In another, specialists press the wet clay into molds for torsos, legs, arms, and heads. The pieces are then fired in a long, hot kiln that glows day and night. Once fired, the real work begins. The separate pieces are assembled, and while the bodies are uniform, you see how the craftsmen give each head a touch of individuality, a slightly different tilt of the head, a different style of mustache painted on, a subtle frown or a determined glare. Your task is to work with the painters, to apply the vibrant mineral pigments that will transform these drab gray figures into a magnificent, colorful force. You spend days grinding pigments malachite for green, azurite for blue, cinnabar for brilliant reds, and lead for white. You learn to mix them with a lacquer binder to create durable paints. You are given a fine-tipped brush and a rank of infantrymen to paint. The work is meticulous. You paint the red laces of their armor, the black of their boots, the flesh tones of their hands and faces. As you work, you feel a strange connection to these silent figures. Each one passes through your hands, and you give it a face under your brush. A blank clay head becomes a stern veteran, a young and eager recruit, a stoic guardsman. Master Li refers to the great first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, whose tomb, according to legend, is protected by a full-sized army of thousands of terracotta warriors. The first emperor sought to conquer the afterlife just as he conquered the kingdoms of the living. He says, "Our magistrate Wei is not an emperor, but he is a loyal official of the glorious Han. He too must have his honor guard. For a man of magistrate Wei's status, clay weapons will not suffice." A shipment arrives at the workshop, a series of small, lacquered boxes. Inside, you find perfectly crafted miniature bronze weapons. There are tiny halberd heads, sharp as any real weapon. There are bundles of bronze-tipped arrows, and, most incredibly, there are miniature crossbows with tiny, working trigger mechanisms. The craftsmanship is breathtaking. These spirit soldiers are better equipped than some living armies you've seen. Your next task is to arm the Legion. It is painstaking work. You carefully fit the miniature bronze spearheads onto their wooden shaft. You place the tiny swords into the scabbards on the soldiers' belts. You spend an entire day fitting the miniature crossbows into the outstretched hands of the ceramic archers, your fingers growing numb from the delicate work. As you work, you befriend one of the older potters, a man named Shen. He is a master of his craft, his hands covered in a permanent layer of gray clay dust. One afternoon, as you both work on painting a ceramic cavalry horse, he tells you about his own father's funeral. "We are a poor family," he says, not with self-pity, but as a simple statement of fact. "When my father died, we had no jade. We sealed his mouth with a coin. To help him pay the ferryman of the Spirit River, we had no cypress coffin, only a simple one of pine, and we had no spirit army. We burned a few paper charms, a paper horse, and offered him a bowl of rice at the family shrine. That was all we could do." He looks at the magnificent ceramic horse you are both painting. "I hope my work on this fine animal will bring some merit to my own father's spirit," he says quietly. His story is a stark reminder of the vast gulf between the death of a common man and the death of a nobleman. The afterlife, it seems, is as stratified by wealth as the world of the living. Finally, the day comes to arrange the army. Master Li unrolls a large scroll on the floor. On it is a diagram, a battle formation. "This is not for show," he tells you. "The formation itself has power. It must be precise. You spend the day as a supernatural battlefield strategist, arranging the figures according to his diagram. The crossbowmen are placed in the front rank, the vanguard behind them, the main body of infantry with their halberds and shields. The cavalry units are placed on the flanks, ready to wheel around and protect against an attack from the side. The cavalry must be strong on the left flank," Master Li instructs, pointing to the diagram. "To counter the demonic spirits that are said to emerge from the western marshes of the underworld, at the center of the formation, you place the command chariot, and within it, the figure representing Magistrate Wei himself. He is larger than the other figures, his armor more ornate, his face a calm, commanding mask. He is the general of this silent legion. At the end of the day, the work is complete. You stand back and look at what you have created. The army stands in perfect, silent ranks, a river of brilliant color. The bronze tips of their spears and halberds catch the light. Their painted eyes stare forward into eternity. It is a magnificent and deeply eerie sight. A perfect miniature army, poised and ready to march into the spirit world. Master Li inspects your work, walking slowly down the ranks, his critical eye missing no detail. He adjusts the angle of a spear, straightens the helmet of a soldier. Finally, he stops and gives a single. Satisfied nod. "Excellent," he says. "The magistrate's security is prepared. His entourage is assembled. He will travel as a general, not as a refugee." He turns to you, a new thought already forming in his eyes. "But an army is useless without a proper field on which to fight. A commander is nothing without territory to command. And a tomb is worthless if it is in the wrong place." He gestures towards the world outside the workshop. "The tomb itself is the most important grave good of all. Its location must be perfect. It must be a place where the currents of the earth are favorable. where the spirits are at peace. This is not a task for a craftsman. This is a task for a master of the earth's secrets. Our next duty is to consult the Feng Shi, the master of Feng Shui, with the spirit army assembled and awaiting its eternal deployment. Master Li informs you of the next, and perhaps most crucial, stage of the preparations. A general is nothing without his territory, he says, his eyes looking towards the distant mountains beyond the city walls. We have prepared the magistrate's possessions and his guards, but we have not yet prepared his home. And a tomb's power comes not from its contents, but from its location. The task of selecting the burial site is a science so profound and so specialized that it is beyond even Master Li's expertise. It requires a Feng Shi, a master of geomancy, a man who can read the hidden currents of the earth as you or I would read a scroll. The magistrate's son, with great expense and solemnity, commissions the most renowned Feng Shi in the region, a wizened, ancient man, known only as Master Kuo. Master Kuo is nothing like your Master Li, where Li is a man of precise ritual and orderly administration. Kuo is a man of wind, water, and intuition. He arrives at the workshop dressed not in the dark robes of a funerary official, but in the simple, rustic clothes of a mountain hermit. His face is a landscape of deep wrinkles, and his eyes, though old, are sharp and bright, constantly scanning the world around him as if reading a language you cannot see. A tomb is not a grave. Master Kuo tells you, as you, Master Li, and the magistrate's son prepare to journey out of the city with him. It is a womb. It is a house for the ancestor, from which he will watch over his descendants for generations. A good site will bring the family prosperity, many sons, and success in business and politics. A poor site. He lets his voice trail off. A poor site will bring bankruptcy, sickness, and generations of restless ghosts. The stakes are high, and so begins your quest for the dragon's vein. You leave the bustling, ordered city and travel into the countryside, under Master Kuo's guidance. The landscape transforms before your eyes. A simple hill is no longer just a hill. It is a green dragon, a benevolent celestial animal. A winding river is not just a river, it is a vein through which the earth's vital energy, its qi, flows. All things are a balance of yin and yang. Master Kuo explains as you walk, pointing to the landscape. The mountains are yang active, bright, masculine. The valleys and the water are yin dark, passive, feminine. A spirit needs both. It needs the protection of the mountain and the nourishment of the water. He teaches you to look for the ideal formation, the armchair tomb. The spirit must be comfortable, he says. It needs a great mountain at its back, the black tortoise, for support and protection. It needs the rolling hills of the green dragon to its left, and the lower hills of the white tiger to its right. And it must look out upon an open space, the red phoenix, preferably with a gently meandering stream to gather the auspicious gwei. You're trying to find a burial plot that's protected by a mythical tortoise, a dragon, a tiger, and a phoenix. It makes finding a regular plot with a nice view seem rather simple by comparison. For days, you scout potential locations. Master Kuo carries his primary tool, a precursor to the Luopen compass. It is a complex instrument, a lacquered board with concentric rings marked with the characters for the cardinal directions, the trigrams of the I Ching, and the constellations of the heavens. He uses it to determine the precise energy and orientation of each location. He rejects site after site. He dismisses a beautiful secluded valley because the stream that runs through it is too straight. The qi moves too quickly here, he declares. It is like a poison arrow. This is Shaki, a killing energy. It would pierce the tomb and bring disaster. He rejects another promising hillside. The hill of the white tiger is higher than that of the green dragon, he says gravely. This means the women of the Wei family would become domineering and the men would weaken. It is an unbalanced place. The feng shui master just rejected a beautiful plot of land because a pointy rock a mile away is giving it a bad look, apparently. Even mountains can have an evil eye. His reasoning is a fascinating blend of practical observation and pure mysticism. A debate that future scholars will have for centuries. Is this a proto-science? Or is it magic? You see him reject a north-facing hollow as being too damp and cold a practical consideration. But then you see him reject a sunny, well-drained slope because the shape of a distant rock formation resembles a weeping face. A terrible omen. For Master Kuo, the practical and the mystical are one and the same. Finally, after nearly a week of searching, he finds it. He leads you into a small, secluded valley, a perfect miniature landscape. A great forested hill rises behind it like a throne. Two smaller. Rolling hills embrace it on either side. It opens onto a view of a peaceful, fertile plain, and a clear, gentle stream meanders in a perfect, graceful curve at its foot. Here, Master Kuo whispers, his voice filled with a quiet, triumphant awe. This is the spot. This is the dragon's lair. He spends the rest of the day confirming his choice. He takes handfuls of the earth, smelling it, feeling its texture and color. He uses his sighting poles to measure the alignments of the hills with the positions of the sun and stars. Finally, he nods. His decision made, the Chewy gathers here. He announces to the magistrate's son. It is a place of power and peace. Your father's Po's soul will rest here without disturbance, and his Hun's soul will have a powerful base from which to bless your family for 100 generations. The magistrate's son is overcome with relief and gratitude. He pays Master Kuo a handsome fee of silver and silk, which the old man accepts with a simple, dignified nod. The most important decision of the entire funeral process has been made. The location of the family's future fortune has been secured. Master Kuo takes a series of small, colorful flags from his bag. He walks to the exact spot he has chosen and drives a stake into the ground. Here, he says, is where the head of the coffin will lie. The entrance to the tomb must face this direction, to receive the morning sun and the auspicious winds. He has not just found a location, he has prescribed a precise and sacred orientation. Master Li looks at the marked spot, a deep satisfaction on his face. The earth is ready to receive him, he says. He turns to you and the magistrate's son. Now, the construction of the magistrate's subterranean palace can begin. It will take many weeks, and once it is complete, we must bring him here. We must undertake the final journey. He looks back towards the city. The funeral procession will be our final battle. The path from the home to the tomb is fraught with peril. It is when the soul is most vulnerable to attack from spirits who are jealous of its magnificent new home. We must make the journey a loud and intimidating affair. A great show of strength to frighten away any evil that lurks in the shadows. The quest for the dragon's vein is over. But the final, most public, and most dangerous ritual is yet to come. Weeks have passed since the ritual of calling back the soul. During this time, an army of laborers has been at work in the auspicious location selected by Master Kuo, the magistrate's subterranean palace. His tomb has been constructed. Astrologers have consulted the heavens and chosen the most favorable day and hour for the final interment. That day has now arrived. The sun has barely risen, but the street outside the late Magistrate Wei's villa is a scene of magnificent, organized chaos. This is the day of the funeral procession, the soul's final journey from the home of his first life to the home of his next. You have learned that this journey is considered the most perilous stage of the entire funerary process. The soul, accompanying its coffin, is exposed. Master Li explained to you as you made the final preparations. The road from the house to the tomb is a liminal space. It belongs neither to the living nor to the dead. It is the hunting ground of ghosts and demons. They are drawn to the soul, jealous of the magnificent new home and the rich offerings that await it. They will try to snatch it, to lead it astray. Therefore, the procession is not a somber, quiet affair. It is a form of spiritual warfare. It is a loud, intimidating, protective phalanx designed to create a moving fortress of sound and energy around the deceased. You stand with Master Lee, directing the assembly. At the very front of the procession is a group of spirit clearers. They hold long poles with strings of firecrackers, which they set off in deafening volleys. The sharp, explosive cracks are meant to startle and scatter any lurking ghosts. Others carry long willow branches, a wood believed to have potent ghost-repelling properties, and they periodically sweep the road ahead. Behind them is a band of hired musicians. This is not the refined, quiet music of the court. This is a cacophony of crashing gongs, clashing cymbals, and pounding drums, all played with as much force as possible. The funeral procession is designed to be as loud and obnoxious as possible to scare off ghosts. It's also incredibly effective at scaring off birds, dogs, and anyone trying to take a nap within a 5-mile radius. Next come the banner carriers, holding great silk banners that whip and snap in the breeze. They are inscribed with the magistrate's name and titles, and with auspicious sayings promising a peaceful journey. Then come the professional mourners. These are women, hired for their ability to produce loud, convincing wails of grief. Their shrieks and sobs are not just for show, they are part of the protective wall of sound. You've hired professional weepers for the procession. Their job is to cry as loudly as possible. They are very, very good at their job. It's an interesting performance review. Excellent wailing really captured the existential dread. 5 stars. At the center of it all is the funeral hearse. The Lingsha. It is a massive ornate carriage, carved from dark wood and draped in white and gold silk. It takes a dozen strong men to pull it. Upon this hearse rests the great, sealed cypress coffin of the magistrate, and perched on the very front of the coffin is a live, pure white rooster, tied loosely in place, looking around with a nervous, jerky alertness. Master Lee explained its crucial role to you. The rooster is a creature of the sun, of young energy. Its crowing greets the dawn and drives away the creatures of the night. It is a living, crowing amulet, a beacon of life force that will guide the soul and repel the forces of yin that would seek to harm it. Your job is to walk alongside the hearse, carrying a large basket filled with spirit money. The lesser ghosts are greedy and easily distracted, Master Lee instructed. As we move, you will cast handfuls of the money into the streets. The spirits will stop to squabble over the phantom coins, and the procession will pass safely while they are distracted. Your job is to throw fake money into the street to bribe ghosts. You're essentially littering for spiritual purposes. It's a strange responsibility. When all is ready, Master Lee gives a sharp signal. The gongs crash, the drums pound, the mourners begin to wail, and the great, noisy procession lurches into motion. The journey through the city is a slow, overwhelming assault on the senses. The air is thick with the acrid smoke of the firecrackers and the heavy scent of incense. The noise is a physical force, a deafening wave that washes over you and seems to shake the very buildings. People pour out of their homes and shops to watch you pass. This is not just a funeral, it is a major public spectacle. You see in their faces a mixture of awe, respect, and fear. You are witnessing a core function of these rituals. They are not just for the dead, they are for the living. The sheer scale and expense of the procession are a powerful statement about the way families' status and wealth. They are demonstrating their piety and their power, reinforcing their social standing even in their time of grief. Future sociologists will debate whether such rituals are primarily religious or social performances. You see now that the two are impossibly intertwined. Protecting the soul and projecting power are one and the same. You diligently perform your duty, casting handfuls of spirit money into the street every 100 paces. The paper coins flutter in the air like great, pale butterflies before settling on the packed earth of the road. The procession approaches a part of the city you know has a dark reputation and old. Neglected cemetery for criminals and the friendless. A place said to be thick with resentful ghosts as you draw near. A sudden, unnatural gust of wind sweeps down the narrow street. It extinguishes half of the torches, plunging parts of the procession into shadow. The musicians falter for a moment, and the white rooster on the coffin lets out a single, terrified squawk, its feathers ruffling in alarm. A palpable wave of fear runs through the procession. Master Li acts instantly. Louder, he bellows to the musicians. Faster, he shouts to the drummers. They respond with a renewed frenzy, crashing their gongs and pounding their drums with a desperate energy. The spirit clearers set off a huge volley of firecrackers, a series of deafening explosions that echoes off the walls. The wall of protective sound is reinforced. The moment of danger passes. The unseen threat has been driven back. The procession continues, a little faster now, a little less orderly, until it has left the haunted district far behind. Finally, after hours of slow, noisy, and nerve-wracking passage, you leave the city gates behind. The sounds of urban life fade, replaced by the peace of the countryside. The procession moves up into the foothills. Following a newly made path, you arrive at the site Master Kuo chose. The newly constructed tomb entrance is a simple, stone-faced doorway set into the side of a gently sloping hill. It is perfectly oriented as prescribed. To face the auspicious direction, the air here is clean and still, the light soft. The contrast with the chaotic, violent energy of the procession is profound. The great hearse is brought to a halt before the tomb. The musicians fall silent. The wailers quiet their cries. The first and most perilous part of the final journey is over. The magistrate's body and soul have been safely escorted from the world of the living to the threshold of the world of the dead. Now, the final. Solemn rites of interment must begin. The coffin must be carried into its new, eternal home. A subterranean palace built to mirror the world he left behind. A place you will now enter for the first time. The great, noisy procession falls silent as it reaches the tomb. The clamor of the city has been left behind, replaced by the whisper of the wind in the pine trees and the respectful hush of the assembled family. The auspicious site, chosen with such care by the geomancer Master Kuo, is a peaceful, secluded hillside. Before you is the tomb's entrance, a simple, strong doorway of dressed stone, leading into the darkness of the earth. The first battle? The one against the wandering ghosts of the road is over. The magistrate's soul has been delivered to the threshold of his new home. The heavy cypress coffin is carefully, painstakingly unloaded from the ornate hearse by a team of strong men. They carry it with the utmost reverence and place it on a bier before the tomb's entrance. The stone door, sealed by the builders, is now opened by Master Li's assistants, revealing a dark, sloping passage leading down into the earth. A blast of cool, subterranean air, smelling of damp soil and fresh stonework, washes over you. The palace has been prepared. Master Li announces to the magistrate's son, "But it is an empty house. We must furnish it before its master can enter. It is your duty, as Master Li's chief apprentice, to lead the furnishing of the tomb. You and your master are the first to enter, carrying lanterns that cast flickering, dancing shadows on the walls. You descend the ramp into the darkness. It is not a simple single chamber. You emerge into a subterranean complex, a multi-room dwelling carved from the earth and lined with brick and stone. It is a perfect, if compact, replica of the magistrate's earthly villa. There is a main hall, and leading off it are smaller chambers, a bedchamber, a kitchen, a treasury, and an armory for the rest of the day. You direct a slow, steady stream of the magistrate's servants as they carry the thousands of Mingqi, the spirit articles, down into the tomb. Each item must be placed in its correct room. According to the strict instructions laid out by Master Li, it is the strangest and most solemn task of your life. In the chamber designated as the kitchen, you place the miniature ceramic stove, arranging around it tiny pots, ladles, and serving dishes. You place clay jars filled with real, preserved grains, millet, and rice on the shelves. The magistrate will not go hungry in the next life. The tomb has a fully equipped kitchen with a ceramic stove, tiny pots, and clay food. The magistrate will be able to host afterlife dinner parties for centuries. The food might be a bit bland. Though, in the treasury room, you meticulously stack the piles of spirit money. In another chamber, you arrange the models of the pigsty and the granary. In the main hall, you carefully position the ceramic models of the musicians and dancers, their silent forms arranged as if in the middle of a perpetual ghostly banquet for a master who has not yet arrived. The most critical task is the placement of the spirit army. You personally supervise this in the antechamber, just inside the main entrance. You arrange the ranks of the terracotta soldiers. You follow the diagram Master Li created, placing the crossbowmen in the vanguard, the infantry behind them, and the cavalry on the flanks. They are the eternal guards, protecting the tomb's entrance from any malevolent spirits who would dare to intrude. As you work in the flickering lamplight, you begin to appreciate the full, breathtaking scope of what you are creating. This is not just a collection of objects in a hole in the ground. This is a self-contained world, a perfect microcosm of the universe, built for a single soul. You look up at the ceiling of the main chamber. It has been painted a deep, dark blue, and on it, a celestial map has been carefully rendered. The constellations are picked out in flecks of shimmering mother of pearl, and the sun and moon are represented by polished bronze discs. On the floor beneath, a topographical map of the region has been drawn, showing the rivers and mountains of the magistrate's earthly jurisdiction. The ceiling is a map of the heavens, and the floor is a map of the earth. The magistrate is being buried in the very center of his own personal universe. You see how the two great systems of belief you have encountered, the mystical geomancy of Master Kuo and the orderly cosmology of Master Li, work in concert. Future scholars may debate the relationship between these different schools of thought, but you see it in practice. Master Kuo chose the site by analyzing the flow of energy in the natural landscape outside. But inside, Master Li has arranged the tomb according to a strict cosmological blueprint, aligning rooms and objects with the cardinal directions and their symbolic meanings. The tomb is simultaneously in harmony with the earth below and the heavens above. Finally, it is time to place the bureaucratic documents. You take the lacquered box containing the bamboo slips of the inventory, the Kianse, and the wooden tablet bearing your carefully written report to the underworld magistrates. You place this box in what will be the magistrate's study, ready for him to present his paperwork upon his arrival at the celestial court. By late afternoon, the work is complete. Every spirit servant is in place. Every clay pig is in its sty. The silent army stands guard. You do a final walk-through of the subterranean palace. The lamplight glints off the painted faces of the ceramic figures, their eyes seeming to follow you in the darkness. The silence is profound, the air heavy with reverence and a strange, expectant stillness. It is a perfect world, a frozen moment of ideal life, waiting for its master. You emerge from the tomb, blinking in the late afternoon sun. Master Li gives the signal. The time has come to bring the magistrate home. The pallbearers, with great effort and solemnity, lift the immense cypress coffin. They carry it slowly, carefully, down the ramp and into the tomb. They navigate the narrow corridors and place it gently upon a great stone sarcophagus that stands in the center of the burial chamber. The room you had set up is the magistrate's eternal bedroom. This is one of the last times the deceased will be seen. Master Li opens the heavy coffin lid one final time. The magistrate's body lies peacefully within, dressed in its many layers of silk. Master Li takes a final object from his box, a burial mask made of silk, with thin, polished pieces of jade sewn onto it to represent the eyes, nose, and mouth. He reverently places this mask over the magistrate's face. A final act of preserving his identity for eternity. He looks to the magistrate's eldest son, who has followed him into the chamber. The son looks upon his father's face one last time, then nods. His eyes filled with tears. The final act of sealing the tomb is now at hand. The coffin lid is closed. The subterranean palace is fully furnished and ready for its eternal occupant. All that remains is to close the great stone door and lock the world of the dead away from the world of the living. You stand in the burial chamber, deep in the cool, silent earth. The air is still and heavy, thick with the scent of cypress wood, lacquer, and the faint, clean smell of jade. The magistrate's great coffin rests upon its stone bier, a dark, monolithic presence in the lantern light. The lid has been closed for the final time. The magistrate is now alone in his subterranean palace, before the final sealing. The magistrate's eldest son performs the last rite within the chamber. He places a final offering of wine and perfectly arranged food before the coffin. He bows deeply, his forehead touching the dusty floor, and speaks to his father's spirit. His voice is a low, respectful murmur, telling his father that his new home is ready, assuring him that he will be honored and remembered, and humbly asking for his benevolent protection over the family he has left behind. It is a moment of profound and intimate grief, a final conversation across the veil. Then, Master Lee touches the son's shoulder gently. It is time to leave. He leads the small family party out of the burial chamber. You and your master are the last to exit. You follow the prescribed etiquette, walking backwards so as not to turn your back on the coffin, your eyes fixed on it until the very last moment, with everyone out. A team of waiting stonemasons moves forward. They position a massive, perfectly fitted stone slab in the doorway of the burial chamber. With a great scraping groan, they push it into place. They then work quickly, using mortar to seal every crack, every seam. The magistrate is now alone in his eternal bedroom. Secured behind a wall of solid stone, you proceed back through the antechambers, your lantern light sweeping across the silent. Painted faces of the terracotta army standing guard. Their presence feels more intense now, more real. They are no longer just grave goods in a workshop. They are the active sentinels of a sealed and sacred space, just inside the main entrance to the tomb. You pause to place the final guardians. These are the Genmusho, the tomb-quelling beasts. They are a pair of ferocious-looking ceramic chimeras, with the bodies of lions, the wings of eagles, and snarling, fanged faces. You place one on each side of the passageway, their terrifying gazes fixed outward, ready to repel any spirit or human who would dare to disturb this place. They're like supernatural guard dogs, only they don't need to be fed and they're slightly better at scaring off soul-eating demons. Finally, you ascend the ramp and step out into the fading daylight. The final, great act of sealing begins. The main entrance to the tomb is a massive stone door, thick as a man's chest. Master Lee first performs a purification ritual, painting a complex, fiery charm on the face of the door with red cinnabar ink to ward off evil. He then chants a final, powerful incantation, a warning to any wandering spirits to keep away, and a gentle but firm command to the magistrate's own soul to rest peacefully and not to trouble the living. At his signal, the team of laborers, using a complex system of levers and ropes, begins to maneuver the great stone door into place. The sound is a deep, grinding groan, a sound of absolute finality, as the stone slides shut, sealing the world of the dead away from the world of the living. Once again, the masons move in, using mortar to seal the entrance completely, leaving not so much as a crack for air or light or spirit to pass through. As you stand watching this final act, Master Li stands beside you. Now you understand the great fear, he says quietly, his eyes fixed on the sealed doorway. All this work, all this expense, all this ritual, it is as much to protect the living as it is to serve the dead. He explains the final, lingering superstition, the one that will now haunt the Wei family for generations. We have given the magistrate a perfect home. We have given him servants, an army, money, and food. We have done everything in our power to make him comfortable. We have done this to appease him. He tells you of the danger of a displeased ancestor, a soul who feels it was buried without the proper respect, or in a tomb with poor feng shui, or a soul whose descendants neglect their duties. Does not rest peacefully, its post-soul, trapped in the tomb, becomes filled with resentment, and its Hun soul, which should be serving in the celestial bureaucracy, can become a Yuan Hun, a vengeful ghost, a spirit with a grievance. A hungry ghost is a random danger. Master Li explains, it is a stray dog that might bite any passerby, but a vengeful ancestor, that is the wolf you raised in your own house, who now returns to prey upon the flock. He knows you. He is tied to you by blood. He can bring sickness to your children, blight to your business, and discord to your house. He will not rest until his grievance is settled. You look at the magistrate's son, standing ramrod straight, watching the masons finish their work. His face is a mask of stoicism, but you now understand the immense pressure that rests upon his shoulders. He is not just the head of his family now, he is the primary caretaker of its most powerful and potentially most dangerous member. You realize that the elaborate funeral is not just an expression of love and piety. It is also an investment, a bribe, a desperate plea. It is driven by a profound and terrifying fear of the dead's enduring power over the living. It's like the world's most high-stakes hospitality, once the mortar is dry. The final stage of burial begins. The team of laborers, who had been waiting patiently, now begins to move earth. They start to build an earthen mound, a tumulus, over the stone entrance. They will work for days, piling tons of earth on top, until the tomb is completely buried, hidden from the world beneath a new, man-made hill, a formal spirit path, which will be lined with statues, will be the only marker indicating the sacred site, as the sun sets, casting long shadows from the surrounding hills. You look at the sealed, half-buried entrance to the tomb. Your work here is done. The physical and ritual tasks are complete. The magistrate has been laid to rest in a subterranean palace fit for a king, surrounded by everything he could ever need. But as you prepare to leave, a deep and unsettling quiet hangs over the proceedings. It is the quiet of a question that can never be answered with certainty. The question that will hang over the House of Wei for generations to come. Is he happy? The tomb is now sealed. Everyone is relieved. Now all they have to do is spend the rest of their lives hoping they did a good enough job, that their dead grandpa doesn't come back to complain about the amenities. The relationship with the dead, you realize, has not ended. It has only just begun. The last cartload of earth is tamped down, and the great tomb of Magistrate Wei vanishes from the world, hidden beneath a new man-made hill that rises silently from the landscape. The public, physically demanding work of the funeral is over. But as you and Master Li journey back to the city with the grieving family, you know that the true, lifelong work has only just begun. The relationship with the dead is not over. It has simply changed venues. The focus of the family's spiritual life now shifts from the tomb in the countryside to the ancestral hall within their own home. This is a quiet, solemn room. Its dark, polished wood seeming to absorb the sounds of the bustling household. And here, you must help perform one of the final and most important rites, the installation of the spirit tablet. Master Li presents the family with a simple, elegant wooden tablet, lacquered in black. Upon it, you, with your steadiest hand, are tasked with inscribing the magistrate's name, but it is not the name he held in life. He is given a new, posthumous name, one chosen by the family and a scholar of the classics to reflect his most admired virtues, a name like Wei the Just or Wei the Serene. This tablet, this Shenju, Master Li explains to you in the Magistrate's Son, is now a vessel. It is a portal. It is the earthly residence of the Hun soul, a place for it to inhabit when it returns to visit its family and receive nourishment. It is not a memorial to your father. It is your father. With great ceremony, the tablet is placed on the central altar of the ancestral hall. Taking its position of honor, the family bows deeply before it, their first official act of ancestor veneration for their newest and most powerful ancestor in the weeks and months that follow. You witness how this veneration becomes the new rhythm of the household. It is a constant, demanding, and deeply intimate relationship. The magistrate's son, as the new head of the family, now has a solemn daily duty, every morning at dawn and every evening at dusk. He enters the ancestral hall. He lights fresh sticks of incense, their fragrant smoke filling the room, and bows before his father's tablet. He speaks to him in a low, respectful voice, not reciting prayers, but delivering a daily report. He informs his father of the family's affairs, a son's success in his studies, a favorable business transaction, the health of the grandchildren. The ancestor must be kept informed. He is no longer a participant in the family's life, but he is its most powerful and influential observer, on festival days, and at the new and full moon. The offerings are more elaborate. The finest dishes from the family meal are prepared and placed on the altar first. The steam from the hot food is believed to nourish the spirit. Cups of wine are poured. Only after the ancestor has had his symbolic share does the living family begin their own meal. The ancestor always eats first. You come to see that this practice, which future scholars will analyze for its religious and social functions, is a complex blend of many human needs. It is, of course, a way to process grief and maintain a loving connection, but it is also driven by fear. The family's fortunes are now inextricably linked to the ancestor's happiness. A sudden illness in the family, a business deal that goes sour, these things are not seen as random misfortune. They are potential signs of the magistrate's displeasure. You are present one day when the magistrate's son must make a difficult business decision. He enters the ancestral hall and, after lighting incense and making an offering, he performs a divination. He asks his father's spirit for guidance, casting a pair of inscribed oracle blocks before the tablet, interpreting their fall to understand his ancestor's will. The dead do not just watch, they advise and consent. As the years pass, your own life changes. You learn everything Master Li has to teach you. You become an expert in the delicate art of navigating the worlds of the living and the dead. When Master Li, now a very old man, finally passes away, you are the one who oversees his funeral, performing the rituals with the same precision and reverence he taught you. You ensure his own soul has a safe and prosperous journey. You are master of the funerary arts now. You have your own apprentices, whom you teach just as you were taught. You teach them of the Hun and the Po, of the dangers of an unsealed corpse, of the importance of the noisy procession, of the necessity of a well-equipped tomb. Many years later, you are summoned once again to the villa of the Wei family. The magistrate's son, now an old man himself, is on his deathbed. You are there to oversee his passage. Just as you were for his father, you walk into the family's ancestral hall. It is larger now. The magistrate's tablet no longer stands alone. Beside it is the tablet for his wife. And soon, the tablet of his son will join them. You watch as the magistrate's grandson, a man you remember as a small child, now stands tall and performs the daily rites of incense and reporting before the row of silent, lacquered tablets. He is teaching his own young son how the ritual is done. And you see it with a profound clarity, the endless, unbroken chain The immense, powerful, and demanding relationship between the living and the dead that forms the very backbone of this civilization? It is a chain of duty, of memory, of love, and of fear. Your entire life has been spent as a custodian of this sacred chain, ensuring its links remain strong and secure. And so, your story, the story of the apprentice who learned the secrets of death, comes to its own gentle end. You have walked a long path, from a nervous boy grinding ink to a wise master whose hands have guided countless souls on their final journey. The specific, terrifying superstitions have softened with your long experience, becoming part of a grander, more philosophical understanding. The fear of the hopping corpse and the soul-snatching demon has been replaced by a deep respect for the profound human need to honor what has come before. The world you knew, the world of the great Han dynasty, will itself one day become an ancestor, a story in the ledgers of history. Its specific rituals and beliefs will fade, replaced by new ones, but the core truth you discovered will remain. The relationship between the living and the dead is an eternal one. We build tombs and palaces for them in our memory. We make offerings of stories and remembrances. We do this not just for them, but for ourselves, to understand where we came from, and to find peace with where we are all inevitably going. Let the memory of that ancient world now fade. The smoke from the incense has cleared. The sound of the gongs is gone. The silent, watchful gaze of the ancestors has turned away. All that is left is the quiet of this room, the comfort of your own bed. The border between your waking world and the world of sleep is a safe one, a threshold you can cross without fear. Let your own soul be at peace, and drift now into the quiet, untroubled slumber that awaits